has promised on several occasions. Well, that is a question that is up for debate, and you are entitled to a policy. Yes, so we're going to take some of the reactions of Nigerians. This has been a very hilarious but very painful experience for a lot of Nigerians with the new Naira redesign. The issue of scarcity of the new Naira is also one that Nigerians are calling on the CBN and, of course, the President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government to address the challenges, particularly as it concerns the businessmen. Now, it is very also important to note that men are losing their wives and wives are losing their husbands, and mature men are becoming insane figures in the banking halls just in an attempt to prove a point, in an attempt to express how biting this particular scenario is. Join me on this beautiful edition of Eyes on Issues as we welcome to the microphone to join us and help us understand the topic at stake, the director of Quibum Investment Corporation Business Unit, talking about Pastor Imobasi Jacob. A lot of people know him as a pastor. I know him as Mr. Imobasi Jacob, the business guru. Hello and welcome to Eye on Issue.
Thank you, Francis. My pleasure to be here with you.
All right, good to have you. So let me start with what I'll call a teaser. Generally, as a Nigerian, how are you feeling about the current crisis with the new Naira redesign?
It's not the best of times to be a Nigerian. Mixed feeling in the sense that a good policy would very poor to just have a currency change. This is not rocket science. You know, so I mean, I sympathize with lots of folks there lining up behind the ATM, trying to get money. At the banking hall, there is anarchy, there is chaos and all that. And like I said, this is not the best time to be called a Nigerian. Don't forget that people are watching us from all over the world. And I wonder what is in their mind, on top of what they already have known as with withdrawal holds a lot of uncertainty. I meet folks in the office who are, you know, not sure that they will have a weekend because there's no money in their pocket. You can't buy basic things. Most painfully, you can't even pay for a taxi. So how do you get home? How do you move from point A to B? So really and truly, this is
Nigerians, but I'd like to hear your comment. I'd like to know how this is sitting with you as a Nigerian. What is the scenario like? What is the situation playing out in your locality? Are you getting access to the new Naira? Let us know with the phone numbers running on the screen, and we'll be delighted to take your calls, and particularly want to know what the banking industry is doing in your locality. We know there have been some arrests, and the CBN have said they have released the committee and the joint task force to ensure that bank managers who allegedly are the ones doing business transactions with this new Naira that has been released by CBN to the detriment of the Nigerian society are, you know, well prosecuted. But will we see that implementation? Because we're still seeing even bandits brandishing the new Naira when Nigerians who are hardworking, law-abiding citizens are fighting in the banking hall without having access to it. We'll take a pause here and get to bring you some of the reactions of Nigerians in the banking hall who have had some kind of a funny, crazy day just trying to get money to get by on a daily. As we come back from that video, we will be continuing with our conversations. Please stay. were in Lagos State where people were fighting, and I had to warn that was a very graphic video of people fighting. I mean, grown-up adult fighting just to get access to the new naira, and right inside the banking hall. I saw another video of a man, who had to naked himself to also drive on the point. And over the course of the week, we've had civil society organization protesting in front of the headquarters of commercial banks in Lagos, just so the bank know how biting this is on the Nigerian people. Also, would like to take you through a short report of Akwa Ibom people also reacting to the situation of exactly how they feel about the biting scarcity of the new naira note. Take it away, guys.
I went to the POS, they didn't have, I've been to like 10 POS, there was no money anywhere. And even the bank, they are still giving old notes. You get, so when you want to get something from these local people who don't understand how the system works, they will reject the money. They'll say they are looking for the new note, and the bank are not issuing the new note. And besides, you can't even get to the bank. The crowd there alone is too much. People are not able to get money. People said, like the people I met today, they said they've been here for the last 3 days, since Monday. They've not been able to get even 1,000. People are shedding tears. Like yesterday, I had someone collapse. Do you understand that the person came and stood since morning till about 3, did not have any money to eat and to go home. The person, an elderly woman, she collapsed. So what the system is making us to go through is too much.
The situation you have been here since morning to get my money, and CBN reports is that this new policy that there's enough money, 30 million naira per branch, to be dispensed in ATM. I've obliged as an obedient citizen. I plunged in my money. Now to get just 5,000 naira, I couldn't. Since morning I've been here. Nobody attend to me. And I want to ask this question. What are the EFCC are doing? What is the financial intelligence are doing in this country? And what are the modalities that have been set in place?
As it is, I came to withdraw money from the bank since First Bank. That's my bank actually. And as first I came here in the morning, there were a lot of people around, so I just left, and I went to other banks to see if I will even get space. It's still the same thing in all the banks. So I came back here, and for past 1.5 hours, I have been waiting on the line, and all of a sudden the money finished. And then the bank, nobody has come out to do anything about it. The banks are seeing us, everyone is seeing us. We are standing here, they know. They've never come to tell us if they put more money into the ATM or not. Nothing. They just left us. We are so many here, but they've all gone. The CBN governor, Emefiele, has said that he has dropped trillions of naira. He has given trillions of naira to the various banks, but it hasn't gotten to the masses. Even as at last week, last 2 weeks, they were still dispensing old notes. Is that even right? Is that how it's supposed to be? As at last week, they were still dispensing old notes. Who does that? And now you expect that by now everyone is supposed to be having the new notes. It can never happen. They said that all banks should stop giving old notes at a particular date or a particular time. That would have been the best thing that they would have done. But instead, it's us. Everything lies on us. We are the ones that will suffer. So even as at last week, banks were dispensing old notes, and this is where we are now.
A lot of Nigerians are aware that.
Well, the CBN has been listening to Nigerians. The big question is, will they address the challenges? Will they address the crisis before it spirals out of proportion? Nigerians are hoping the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele will rise to the occasion, and most importantly, President Muhammadu Buhari, because even INEC has come out to tell us if the scarcity of fuel continues and the biting currency situation continues, it might affect the chances of us having a credible 2023 general elections. And that is not something that we as Nigerians are sure President Muhammadu Buhari will want to have in his conscience. We're hoping we'll see a difference in the coming weeks so Nigerians can have a sigh of relief. But let's move away from that to the main issue of this, because talking about Akwa Ibom business environment, Akikop, and the new Naira policy with, I guess, Imobasi Jacob. Let's start the conversations this way. What is a business environment to the layman's understanding?
In Akwa Ibom State? Well, I would say that the business environment is upscaling. If you look back, situate the economy as it is today, and then look forward, you would see that we are on the right trajectory. One of the things that is happening around about here is the putting in place of the architecture of a viral economy. Economy is all about movement of goods, services, movement of people, spending power, creation of goods and services. And so what has been happening over the years, in particular the last 7.5 years, was to create the arteries, what I call the arteries, to the central nervous system, which is the economy. Things that are like feeders into what could be termed a very good economy. If you don't have movement of people, if you don't have movement of goods, no matter how good an economy is, no matter how resourceful, no matter the amount of natural resources in a particular economy, if you don't have this and combine it very well, you would not definitely have economic growth. So what has been happening in our state is that the very arteries that feed the economy have been opened up, and it's very easy to have a conversation around this because it's visible. First is the air, road, and hopefully over time the sea. An economy is an open market where people come, and especially when people come from out of town, come from out of country, out of state. What does happen when they do come is that they come with their spending power. They come either to do business or to shop or to take a vacation or enjoy themselves one way or the other. And as they do, there's an exchange mechanism that takes place. They part with their money, take a bit of pleasure, a bit of goods, enjoy services like conferences and all that. And so what has happened in our state is that the ability for people to come in and out of our state has been greatly enhanced. And that for me is a pivot for the new economy of Akwa Ibom State. I'll give you an example in very practical terms. Take Ibom Air, for example, which is a bold step by the present administration to create an artery that fits this economy. There are a lot of people that come into the state just because it is easily accessed by air. They come for different things like conferences. There are many organizations that take their conferences away from Lagos, Abuja, and other cities and come to Akwa Ibom State. The peace architecture is right, so they come. And when they do come, they look for services like airport taxi, for example. They will buy food while they're here. They will have to have accommodation while they're here. They have to pay for everything they take and they need while they're here. And guess what? When they're going back, perhaps they're going back with empty pocket. So the average person who is residing in Akwa Ibom doing business is benefiting from this artery that is open. How? The person selling by the roadside from the airport, for example, has a new market and a bigger market. The taxi, the guys waiting at the airport to take passengers to their destination has a new market. The hotel owners, by the way, the hotel owners can tell you a better story than anybody can tell because the hotels are full. Weekends are full. In December, we had a problem. Many of my friends were calling to find out how I can help them book hotels, that they've gone looking for hotels and the place, the rooms were all taken up. And some of them called me by virtue of my involvement with the Ibom Air and said, well, I have a hotel, but I don't have a ticket. No, I have a ticket, but I'm looking for a hotel. I don't want to confirm my ticket until I have a hotel. So I don't come and don't have a place. And this is a good problem in the sense that people are beginning to see Akwa Ibom as a destination of choice. By road, our roads are very well connected. Akwa Ibom is one of the states that you can connect the state capital from any local government area within maybe maximum an hour. It's because it is they have good roads. And like I always say, roads are not just there to take you from one place to the other. My main understanding from economic point of view of roads is that it's a connection to markets. It opens up markets, it links up markets. The guys in the rural areas of the Akwa Ibom State can access the urban centers very well and easily. And what does that do to them? It drops down the cost of doing business. It gives them access to a better market. And of course, it revitalizes the rural economy. And once we connect all these dots, you could see that Akwa Ibom is being prepared to become an industrial hub in the country. And it is because the government has created these arteries that bring people. The economy is about the movement of people and goods. There are some countries that do not have natural resources, Switzerland, for example, but they create arteries. Swiss Air, for example, they have services like watches and all that. But the more people that go in there as tourists, as business people, the better for the economy. And I think that is what is beginning to happen in Akwa Ibom State. Dubai is another example. And so I'm saying to you and Akwa Ibomite and all people from all over the world that our economy is upscaling.
Okay, so we know that the economy is upscaling, and you've mentioned something that just struck a chord. And let's talk about hotel booking, for instance. Is that a business opportunity that an aspiring entrepreneur can venture into, helping people who are coming into Akwa Ibom, for instance, pre-book their hotels before they even get to arrive here? Is that a business opportunity?
It's a very big business, because the new economy of Akwa Ibom State is not oil, it's tourism. I've talked about traffic of people, movement of people. People visit destinations for tourism, maybe business tourism, sports tourism, medical tourism. People go on vacation and all kinds of reasons. And so therefore, there's that service gap. Who would help these people find their ways around the state and take advantage of all these services that are being provided by business people in the respective areas, for example, hospitality, you know. And so, yes, you are right. Bookings for hotels management, tourism management. Tourism is a big business in Akwa Ibom. So as I was coming here, I saw the beautiful hillsides, and something just struck on me. This should be a tourist site. How about having that mobile train, electric cars, taking you from the beautiful hills of Ibiaku to Itam, and for example, I mean, the hillsides, you know, these are businesses beckoning to be started because the new economy of Akwa Ibom State is tourism. All kinds of tourism. We have medical tourism. We have the best facility, one of the best medical facility in our country. People that need that medical service can easily come here, and they come with their pocket. We have sport tourism. We have an Olympic-sized stadium, you know, and of course, we're beginning to build malls where people can display their goods that are not even produced here, like you have in Dubai. People bring their goods from all over the world just because a market exchange has been established. And once that is done, as we continue to manage the traffic in and out of Uyo, you support an economy that is not resource-based, but based on services and knowledge.
Definitely. Well, if you just joined us, this is Eye on Issue, coming to you live on Spectrum Television. And of course, we are coming to you from the very beautiful city of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. I have with me on set Mr. Imobasi Jacob, who is the director, the business unit, Akika, that's Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation. And we're talking about Akwa Ibom business environment, Akika, and the new national policy. And so far, we've been doing justice to all of that. And before we got to this point, I did make it clear that you can join the conversation on the phone lines on your screen and tell us what you feel about the new Naira policy. And of course, if you're in Akwa Ibom or you're in Akwa Ibom right outside the shores of Nigeria and within the shores of Nigeria in a coverage area, you can also reach us and tell us how you feel about the things that is happening in Nigeria. But let's go to talk about the entrepreneurs, because when we're talking about the economy, it comes down to the number of entrepreneurs that we have in the particular society. We've talked about hotel booking, for instance, as a very big business opportunity. Now, one of the biggest questions entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs would oftentimes ask is, I have a business idea, but I do not have the funds. Now, two questions I'm going to ask, but I ask them individually. First, do we really need money first to start a business?
This is my perspective, and I'm very, very convinced that it is correct. Money follows after idea, not the other way around. So the first thing you need is to have a business idea whose time has come. That idea would translate into a product or a service. The challenge a lot of people have is to expect that when they have money, they will have every other thing. Indeed, the reason you don't have money is because you don't have ideas. You know, the global capital is a flow. It moves from one part of the globe to the other in search of ideas so that it can be multiplied. It can be invested and multiplied. The capitalist, you know, are looking for places where they can put their money. And they're also looking for companies that have business propositions based on ideas whose time have come, great products and services, and market potentials. And so they're willing to put their money there. But for an upstart, you would always have to face that dilemma. Should I start with what I have, or should I wait until I have what I need to start my business?
Okay, now you've said something, ideas whose time has come.
Yeah.
Now that is what investors are willing to put in their money. So it's a bigger proposal then. So how will an aspiring entrepreneur identify that particular idea from the series of ideas he or she has whose time has come?
Great. That's a very good question, because like I came into this place, all I need was to scan and say, well, there is opportunity for tourism here. Just the hillside, beautiful as it is. That's how ideas develop. Whose time has come? Nobody else has done it. If I push it beyond the frontiers, if I push it and polish it, you know, and start with the demonstration effect, maybe someone will hear my story and wants to be part of the success story. And so businesses are run on ideas. We're in the knowledge-based world today, and you can imagine what revolutionary ideas have done to our world. Today, you have taxi systems that don't own taxis. That was a great idea whose time had come. We were used to you owning a car before you can provide taxi services. But Uber and all these guys came over and said, we don't need to own cars. All you need to do is to put a platform where those who own cars can either drop their cars there or drive their cars for us, and we make money, connect the markets, connect passengers to this pool of cars and all that without us owning any car. So that was an idea whose time had come. Many of the things we're profiting from today never existed in the time past. People just dream and imagine the limitless impossibilities and dare to put their seed capital. Before you know it, they can become candidate for venture capital, initial public offering, because capitalists are looking for all of these propositions to see where new money can be made. And they are ready to migrate from wherever they're making money today to these new possibilities. So it's all about ideas, because product first existed in the mind before it became a tangible object. Service exists in the mind. You imagine it, you dream about it, you reason it, you tried it, you test it, you bring it up. If it might not work as you imagine, but you keep at it, and before you know it, it becomes something that resonates with the market. I was doing a paper on e-commerce, which I'm going to present next week, and I'm just amazed how the internet has been able to offer people who otherwise would not be able to do business a space to do business. What is the internet? It's connectivity, bringing people that you may not even meet together to interact in a market space. And young guys are, profiting from it. Sometimes you use things like drop shipping. You don't even need to own stocks. You work with warehouses and merchandising companies. You just have a platform on the internet, market it. People are buying, placing their orders without knowing that you are not the maker of the goods. And of course, you make money even while the world is sleeping. So it's about ideas. Product ideas. Look at this station. Look at this studio. Everything we have here once existed as an idea. and never existed in a tangible form until somebody dared to imagine and then to move forward and make a product proposition or a service proposition. And of course, the consumers are wailing, they're waiting and wailing. They're always too tired of old stuff. That's why they put expiry date on some stuff. And once you come up with an idea whose time has come, there's a migration of the market. People who were once comfortable with a particular product will now migrate and you win, you become a market leader. Look at what Tesla is doing with the electric car. I was listening to the news today. They had an upswing in their sales in China. Electric cars 10 years ago, 20 years ago was like a nightmarish thought. Somebody would say, electric what? We're doing well with oil, and that you can't even have a refueling system. But that is being resolved. The batteries, the fuel lines, the refueling, the recharging systems are being put in place just because someone dare to think and to act.
Well, as an entrepreneur, you've got to understand that one of the key things that you need is to dare. Are you watching right now and you're an entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, you have questions in your mind as to how to go about starting your business? Well, today on Eye on Issue, we're talking about Akwa Ibom business environment, Akikab and the new Naira policy. And Akwa Ibom business environment is relatable because there are peculiarities that you can find here that can also be made reference to within your particular locality. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll have more conversations and have Mr. Imobasi Jacob tell us more about the programs of Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation and how that has impacted on the lives of the entrepreneurs in Akwa Ibom State, what programs they have, how the people are benefiting, and what other programs they probably would bring up in the coming days before we get to right about now. Let's take a back pause and just have a good time.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigerian. From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health, lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Glad to have you back. If you just joined us, this is Eye on Issues coming to you live on Spectrum Television, and we are beaming live from the very beautiful city of Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. And yesterday we were looking at the Akwa Ibom business environment, AkiCup, and of course the new Naira policy. Before we went on the first break, we were talking with Pastor Imobasi Jacob, who is a business director with AkiCup, and we've touched a whole lot of issues. But right about now, we want to talk about the programs and activities of AkiCup. So let's get to here. Now, the average person who is not very conversant with Akwa Ibom State, and even some persons within the Akwa Ibom State, will always ask me, what is Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation? What are they really into doing for the business environment? So I'd like to put that question directly. What is AkiCup, and what is the mandate of Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation?
AkiCup is Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation. Used to be Akwa Ibom, to give it a proper best fit mandate. It's a creation of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly by law, okay, and it is the investment arm of government. We always know that government has no business in business.
Doing business.
Yes, but it is also permissible for government to do some strategic intervention in the private business arena, and so you need an agency that is fit for purpose, away from the architecture of the public service, and to handle the business side of government. And that is how AkiCup came into being in 1999. The AkiPOC came into being in 1999, and the law being amended in 2012, it became Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation. We're not alone in this. If you look around the world, there are models like this. In Korea, South Korea, they have what they call Korean Investment Corporation, which does all the major investment decisions of the state. I hope you know Daewoo and major industrial outfits there, started by government, were managed by entities like this. In the United States, you have what they call Small Business Administration, which is which exists to harness the entrepreneurial drive and make sure that government policies meet business people and they take advantage of it and prosper the economy. And so it was a very good thing to have in Akwa Ibom, and still is, that moving away, trying to move the state away from a public service tack. You know, you need an intervention agency that would relate with government on the one hand and the private sector on the other hand, with a view to gradually transforming the economy into a private sector-led economy. So far, major programs of government in the economic space are handled by AkiCup, and they have become very, very successful at it. For example, Ibom Air. Ibom Air is 100% owned by AkiCup. Ibom Power is 100% owned by AkiCup. You know, so over the years, through many administrations, working with AkiCup, we've been able to have a footprint in the private sector, and doing it in such a way that it's not tainted by bureaucracy, it's not tainted by politics, you know, but with the aim of delivering value to the government being the major investors in most of these projects, delivering value to the government and enhancing economic growth and prosperity in the land by helping people start entrepreneurs and matured entrepreneurs, hand-holding them to find space within our economy. So from A to Z, AkiCup exists, one, to manage all the investment by government. It's a clearinghouse. It's a holding company to major investment of government. For example, Anchor Insurance, Akwa Ibom State is a major retail shareholder there. And so AkiCup manages that investment. And I can report to Akwa Ibom people that that is one investment that has been paying dividends over the years because it is well managed.
Now, I know that recently there were news greeting the Akwa Ibom people that the state government recently got the distribution certificate from the federal government. I'd like to clarify if that's true.
Of course, it was well reported.
Okay, so now, are there plans to kickstart the distribution to Akwa Ibom people? Because recall that His Excellency Governor Odomi Manuel did promise that once the license and certification has been gotten from the federal government, then the next phase would be to ensure that, you know, distribution from our own power mega station is distributed to Akwa Ibom State.
First, to congratulate His Excellency Governor Odomi Manuel for the foresight. I think we're the first state to enter that given out on a regional basis company. You have a co-distribution, you have many of them. And so it was quasi-monopolistic. But the power crisis in Nigeria calls for different kinds of solutions. And so I think the state government saw that window of opportunity and applied and then got the license. So I say kudos to the government. It's a far-sighted decision in the sense that without power, you can't power the economy. And here we are on the generation side, we have Ibom Power, which is generating more than we can distribute. And so if we intervene at both generation and distribution, it is because we intend to improve the overall availability of electricity power in the state within our control. You know, and that is good news for business persons.
Okay, now I was about coming there because I know that one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs or existing businesses, even big brands have, particularly with the prices of you know, diesel and other fuel that is used for businesses speaking right now, is the issue of, you know, cost of operation, which is narrowed down to the electricity and power supply. So what would this mean for the businesses in Akwa Ibom State and people coming in to do business?
Well, I was about saying that is good news for the business persons in many respects. One, you have availability of power. The situation we have today is that we generate, but we cannot distribute. The distribution companies are hamstrung in their operations. The whole market is, you know, hampered by cash flow issues and payment issues and all that. So if we enter into the that sector, that vital sector, the distribution sector, we're just, you know, we'll just be well able to take power to more people in the state. Don't forget that the state government before now had invested in the building of substations, and this has led to great improvement in power supply in places like Songomai with housing. The building substations, even up to Itimekbo, there's a new substation that's being built there, and that has helped, you know, to provide more electricity power in the state. Now with the agency, with the company, a distribution company situated in Akwa Ibom State, we would harness all the investment in the power sector. Don't forget that under the old arrangement, though Port Harcourt distribution company has the franchise for this region, they use your own assets, like your transformers. State government before now, through rural electrification and all kinds of schemes in this sector before it was privatized, had invested, you know, heavily in the power distribution assets, but managed by a businessman who is not responsible to you. So what this would do would be that we would harness our investment in the power sector, particularly the generation and the distribution sector, and ensure that power is available in Akwa Ibom State. And that's really good news. And I think we would distinguish ourselves from other states.
Exactly. That's the story that Akwa Ibomites would want to hear, and that's a big business story that every resident of Akwa Ibom who is business savvy would want to hear at this point in time. But let's talk about another critical issue that affects the entrepreneur. Yes, we've talked about Akikop being the linking bridge between the entrepreneurs and investors. But let's look at the reality on ground in terms of government policies. How has Akikop been able to interface with the entrepreneurs and then for the push, the challenges faced by these entrepreneurs to bring about good business policies for the people?
This is how we handle that mandate. we've created a department for entrepreneurship. We call it business development and entrepreneurship department. And the mandate of this department is to nurture entrepreneurs in Akwa Ibom State. And how do we go about it? We have what we call business clinic, which exists to provide support, business advisory support, provide knowledge sharing with entrepreneurs. On a monthly basis, we hold the clinic. We invite people from the organized private sector, from people on our database. They come. We sit in a classroom setting. We share knowledge. We share models. We share information that is at our disposal. And more than that, we handhold these entrepreneurs and find opportunities that are available, particularly in the financing aspect of business. Many of them may not be aware of programs, either at the federal government level or multilateral agencies and global sources of empowerment. We expose this to them and help them to find their way, and take advantage of these things.
We're almost running out of time, so let's hurry this up. Let's talk about the Naira policy that is currently generating a lot of crisis. I had conversations with people across the streets, and the big question is, or the big situation is, that this new Naira policy is going to affect, or is affecting most the people who are involved in one business or the other. Do you share these thoughts? And if yes, what would you propose to be done to remedy the situation?
Well, it's affecting people. Is it positive or negative? This is how I look at it. It's a good policy, but badly implemented. The intention of the CBN, as I understand, is to make sure that we run a cashless economy as much as it is possible. There has been a gradual, long-term approach to this. ATMs, online banking, and all that. For a discerning businessman, you should know what is to come and begin to migrate your operations gradually before you get caught up by a policy implementation such as a new Naira redesign and withdrawal limit and stuff like that. It's a good policy by the central bank's laws. The central bank is empowered to change currencies, I think every 5 years or 10 years. But this one had been in existence, I think, since 1984, some time back. And Nigeria is one of the countries that still handle cash in the quantum that we have in the country today. And that is not good enough. It makes the job of CBN's ability to manage currency flow or circulation difficult, because the bulk of the currency is outside the banking system. People have they build bunkers for money. And so you cannot control, you can't regulate inflation. All your policies are not going to be harnessed because you don't have control over, So if this is meant to give CBN greater control, make sure that we don't have uncontrollable circulation of currency in the country, and that people can then use online platforms to transact their businesses. Of course, it will be able to check corruption. Even kidnapping will not be a viral business. Such social vices that have taken advantage of our inability to have a currency policy that is in sync with other countries. US, their currencies have a expiry date. In fact, they have just announced that the currency, they moved the expiry date of dollars from whatever it was to 2021. If you have a dollar that is older than 2021, it's no longer a legal tender. So I think we're joining the League of Nations who manage their currency very well. But on the downside is that this ought to have been given a long gestation period with lots of public enlightenment and all that. And then engagement, let people know what is coming. This is the kind of policy that can take a year, especially with the backlog, since 1984 or thereabout. People are not used to new currency. So you needed minimum 1 year, 6 months to 1 year to enlighten people, encourage people to gradually move You know, you can move the goalposts every quarter until we all are harnessed into where we ought to be, which is cashless economy. What can they do? I believe the CBN has responded. Whether that is going to be enough by extending the date for the swap of the old currency with the new one. CBN has also read a riot out to bank managers who are hoarding these currencies and even trading with the currencies. This is a Nigerian problem, and I said to myself, this is shameful that just to exchange notes, we're having a crisis. Even after the war, we had currency exchange, there was no crisis. And I cannot, in my little time here on earth, remember when there was a currency swap and there was a crisis. We've managed it in the past. What is different this time is the corruption that has full, you know. So I believe CBN is listening and to change your currency. Like the president said, 3 months is enough. October, November, December, and January. For me as a person, I started managing my access to the old note. Last Friday was the last time I dispensed the last. It was 500 naira. I just dispensed it, and I started taking new notes. You know, when those days when we go to bank, they will give you a mixture of new. Yeah. So I'll pull out the new notes and keep. Today, I can't have the problem that most people are having because I manage the transition from the old to the new.
All right, thank you very much, Imobasi Jacob, the Director of Business Unit, Akwa Ibom Investment Corporation, for coming on Eye on Issue. We really appreciate you taking out the time.
Thank you for having me.
And yes, it's been a wonderful time being with you here. And we hope that CBN has been listening to the cries from Nigerians. And of course, we'll do something to cushion the effect of this harsh scarcity that has been created by some Nigerians who are transacting with a new Naira note. We hope to see a lot of implementation muzzle pulled by the CBN and the federal government so that even the 2023 general elections does not get affected. My name is Francis Edet, and it's been a wonderful time being with you here. Do have a lovely time. God bless you.